Hello everyone, welcome to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book panel. Woo. My name is Michele Ivey. I've been a Ninja Turtle fan since 1989. I've been involved with the behind the scenes of Ninja Turtles since 1992, from going backstage at the concerts, on the set of the TV show, and hanging out at Mirage Studios. I am a huge fan of every area of Ninja Turtles and have been kind of titled a Ninja Turtle historian by the people who work on Ninja Turtles. And in 2010, I started my own website and started coming and doing events to share the history of Ninja Turtles and getting it out there. Right now, some of my collection pieces are even up at a museum in Pittsburgh, which is what that flyer's for. It's called Toonseum, and they're doing the 30th anniversary. They got some of my movie props and original comic art there. What I'd like to start off with is a video, if I can find it. A little bit more introducing Cowabunga Corner from some of our guests.
Hi, this is TMNT. I am the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you are watching Cowabunga Corner.
Cowabunga Corner.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga Corner.
I'm Michael St. Nicholas, and I played Leonardo in the 4Kids produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm David Wise. I developed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for television back in 1987.
Leif Tilden, I played Donatello in the first two Ninja Turtle movies.
Michele Sisti, Michelangelo to you. Townsend Coleman here. You probably know me better as Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm Mark Casso, and I played Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies.
I'm Barry Gordon. I was Donatello and Bebop from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I'm Adam Carl. I was the voice of Donatello in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
I'm Mark Bodie, like a cheats wizard. I'm also a Ninja Turtle artist.
Hi, this is Pat Fraley, maybe known to you as the evil bodiless friend. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm Nick Cohen, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Michelangelo action turtle on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of You.
Hi, I'm Rob Paulson, better known as Raphael and Donatello, and you guys are watching Cowabunga Corner. Don't you have good taste?
I'm Kenny Byerly. I wrote for the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles show and IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles New Animated Adventures.
My name is Pat Linden, Vice President of Marketing at Playmates Toys.
Hi, I'm Cyril Nielli. I am Executive Producer of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon.
My name is Francis Moss. I was a writer and story editor on the first version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm Tom Waltz, the writer for the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic.
Hi, this is Stephen Ho. I did the stunts for Donatello and Ninja Turtles Part 2 and 3.
This is Bill Wolf, producer and director of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hey, I'm Francois Chow, part of the Shredder.
I'm Brian, I played Toka on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
I'm Mark Ginther, Razar from Ninja Turtles 2.
Hey everybody, this is Tom Whalen and I'm Jabberhead!
I'm Robbie Wrist, Michelangelo on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films, and you are watching Cowabunga Corner with Michele Ivey.
And would April like to sign us out of this interview?
I would certainly like to sign you out. Michele, it's been a pleasure meeting you and interviewing with you. This is April O'Neil, Channel 6 News.
I've been, as you see, going around and actually interviewing and talking to a lot of people. So when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I'm actually sharing the experiences from the actors, the writers, the artists who brought the Ninja Turtles to you. I first met Eastman and Laird in 1992. I made friends with Kevin in 1994. And I've heard his story of how the Turtles were created so many times it's imprinted in my mind. So what I'd like to start off with asking is, how many people here have read all of the different Ninja Turtle comic book series?
At least one of each. I've read a couple.
Read a couple of them?
I've at least read the first
I've gotten through the new one. I'm still playing catch up with the original.
Now, how many people here know the origin of the very first comic book? Oh, we got 3, so there's enough people to share this real fast. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, they met because Kevin found a comic that Peter did on a bus called Scat. And he went to the company saying, my artwork matches up a lot to this guy, and I want to be friends. And this was in 1982. He went to Peter's house at a pre-arranged meetup. When he walked in, he saw original artwork from Jack Kirby and just melted. Jack Kirby is the king of comic books. And that is who they both fan big time. Right away, they made a connection, and it ended up, within a year, Kevin moved in and was roommating with Peter and his soon-to-be wife. And one night, November 19th, 1983, Eastman and Laird were sitting down watching some bad TV, A-Team, stuff Peter really liked. And Peter was trying to pay attention to the TV, but Kevin likes to distract Peter. So Kevin would do drawings and they'd try to top each other while the TV was on. And one time that night, Kevin drew a turtle upright with nunchucks strapped to his arms. Peter decided to try and top that drawing and drew his own version of the turtle with the nunchucks. And it went on to where they kept doing the drawings till they had a drawing of all 4 turtles with their different weapons, and Kevin wrote Ninja Turtles. Peter added above that Teenage Mutant, making it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They laughed about this. Peter worked at a comic book shop. Kevin was a lobster cook. They weren't really in the money to try and bring this to life. But they thought this was funny, tossed it to the side, and the next day they saw it and they're like, we should really come up with a story on how these became Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. On May 5th, 1984, the comic book came out at a Portland, Denver? Why am I freezing on that? But up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They went to a comic book con out there and released the comic with some help from income tax return and borrowing money from Kevin's uncle. They were able to make enough copies to sell, not just there, but they put an ad inside of one of the comic book lines of being able to get them out to the stores. The first issue sold out within 3 weeks. And from there, it just started growing. They were able to get the t-shirts, glow-in-the-dark t-shirts, some iron-on t-shirts. Dark Horse Miniatures picked them up, and Palladium Books, and they realized they had to keep the story going. Originally, it was just going to be the 2 of them, which is the history of the comic. I'm going to stand over here so that I can see what I'm doing. This is an image from the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they actually put out the turtles jumping up. I was really planning to have that up as I told their backstory. The first 7 issues were all done by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. The first one was the big fluke that they did not expect to become anything. The second issue, they introduced April O'Neil and Baxter Stockman. But can anyone tell me what major event happened in the first issue that people would not expect?
Killed off the Shredder.
Yep, killed off the Shredder. The Ninja Turtles were trained as ninjas. They were not trained as heroes. They were raised for one purpose only. Hamato Yoshi was killed by a guy named Oroku Saki who became the Shredder. Splinter wanted revenge for his brother's death. Now, this is my favorite version of the Shredder. He only 1 issue, but as an 8-year-old child, his brother was killed by Hamato Yoshi. He actually had a reason for becoming the Shredder. He wasn't one of these, I'm just evil to be evil! No, he actually had a reason to be evil, which is what made that Shredder so stand out to me when it comes to the actual Foot Clan. Then with Baxter Stockman, he just wanted money and greed and made his mousers. And April was his lab assistant, not a news reporter like a lot of people think because of the original cartoon series. Yeah. And then they decided to go in a different direction. Splinter was kidnapped like right away at the end of issue 2. He was gone completely after the Mouser attack. So the Turtles are now with April and they're staying with her. Issue 3 is a very cool car chase scene of having the Turtles involved inside this actual police chase because the police mistake them for a robbery van. But by issue 4, they find the TCRI building and they find out Splinter's in there, but before they can do anything to save Splinter, they're zapped off to space. And we go through the Turtles in Space mission. Anyone here watch the 4 Kids cartoon series from 2003?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. This story arc was used at the beginning of season 2 of that series. And some of it down to the artwork and the words actually taken right from Mirage Volume 1. One of the things that did get changed in the comics, though, from the cartoon, is they tried to redo this issue as well, which is issue 8 of the comic books. It originally had Cerebus, which is a character done by David Sims. David Sims came in, he was one of the writers. It's the first time they had a co-writer on the comics, and a co-artist, because he did all the artwork based on his characters. So it was the three of them writing and doing all the artwork, which opened the door to a whole lot of more people to be involved, as the next issue brought in some of Mirage Studios' key artists and writers that have stayed with them, even hanging out and working with them to this day, as Mirage Studios is not really there anymore. You can still find these guys together, as we have added to the group Michael Dooney, Ryan Brown, and Jim Lawson. All three of them are still really well-known people. Anyone know characters that Ryan Brown brought to the Ninja Turtle industry that people know to this day?
Casey Jones?
No, that was Kevin Eastman. What? Huh?
Crane? I'm
Nope.
just guessing.
Nope, that was David Wise.
Bebop and Rocksteady?
No, David Wise. Ryan Brown brought characters like the Rat King.
Rat King.
He brought Leatherhead.
Which was only a good, which was a good guy. You know, like, he was only a villain in the original cartoon. Wasn't
Only
he?
original cartoon series, he was a villain. And the Archie comics, he started off where it appeared he was going to be a villain, but he went good pretty fast. He was originally a good guy even inside the Mirage comic book series. So these guys here, Michael Dooney, one of my favorite poster artists, they've been with the Ninja Turtles from the get-go. And with Jim Lawson, Jim has been one of the main pencil artists who's been working on Ninja Turtles all the way through the Volume 4 and Tales of TMNT. His studios, he still has a studio inside the Mirage building. Now, if anyone has any questions or something they'd like to add along the way, feel free to add those in.
Well, the cover you have for issue 4, if you pick out kind of back, that looks almost like the advertisement in the box art for the NES game almost. Only obviously not exactly like the same.
This came first.
I know that came first. I was like, you know if that was ever intentional? Like
Yes, it was.
It was intentional. They based off of that, but they redrew it, of course.
Yeah, they definitely did a lot of trying to get the original Turtles out there, because when the cartoon came out, a lot of comic book fans were upset by the change from their dark, gritty Ninja Turtles to these bubbly, happy, cowabunga Ninja Turtles.
Especially Raph.
Yeah, every character took a major change when it came to the cartoon. So for those fans, especially the first Ninja Turtle movie, which I'll have more about on Sunday, they kept in stuff from the comic books where they could fit it in. But most of the time, they could not fit it in.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that. Like I said, that looks so familiar, so I was like, wait a second.
Issues 10 and 11 came out. They really brought back the Shredder for an issue. At this time, they're really confused on who the Shredder is. By the way, warning up front, this panel is full of nothing but spoilers. Of course. So, spoilers galore. And the Turtles got chased out of New York and went to farmhouse. Yes, just like the movie. There's a huge fight scene. Second time around, shop is burnt down inside issue 10. This is a major story arc, and it is when Eastman and Laird actually came back together and worked on it without somebody else in the book, besides for the lettering being done by a guy named Steve Levine. After that, though, things changed. They actually brought in a lot more artists and guests, and it went off of the story arc that we've been following. So now we have Michael actually getting his own issue, Eric Talbot joining the crew, Jim and Peter working together without Kevin, Mark Martin coming in, and Mark Bodie. It just got around to actually being more free-for-all than following a story arc like the first 7 issues were. We go into Return to New York. Eastman and Laird are back on the writing team, though they're bringing in the artists to still bring in the other touches. So we still have a lot of Jim Lawson and Michael Dooney and them on board with this. But this is a story arc where we find out that Shredder is actually a clone of the Shredder. Shredder really did die in the first issue. He is the worm clone brought back by the foot soldiers. So things really take a huge change as we get 22 through 47 and the Ninja Turtle comics without anything from Eastman and Laird. Eastman and Laird will jump in and kind of do side stories with people. Like he worked really, Kevin Eastman worked really close with Mark Bodie on this issue right here.
These things are they like 2000 AD kind of does their stuff sometimes.
Well, the reason it happened was Ninja Turtles got so big, what they enjoyed doing was actually working on the comic books. But the cartoons and the movies and the concerts, everything turned into not just actually trying to go out there and say yes to these deals, but fighting off lawsuits where people are saying that you stole this idea from us, this came from us. Howdy Doody came after them for Cowabunga.
What?
Yeah. So they had one issue after another. They were going through fights, law battles. It just was one thing going on to where Eastman and Laird both had to pull back from what they loved and started to go into the business world instead.
Really?
Kevin, at this time, also was getting the idea of purchase his lifelong dream, Heavy Metal magazine. They were rich enough, so they got different goals in mind, but Eastman and Laird found themselves drifting. To try and fix this, they decided to do a story arc to end Volume 1 of Ninja Turtles, where the two of them would have to get together and write and try and complete a circle of this book. And so they brought to us the opening for it, which is actually a lot of art from the other artists still. We're not into the main story arc, but this is what they do to line up to get the characters where they need to be for the next story arc. Casey Jones is discovering that he has done something wrong inside this issue right here, issue 48, and he is torn up about it. When he goes to the Turtles about it, they don't really sympathize because they've done a lot worse than what Casey did. And they're like, okay, so Casey decides to go off and find himself. He leaves April. April goes home to find her family. And this brings us City at War. The Turtles have a huge conversation, mainly Raph and Leo. Mike and Don are like, we don't want to be part of the fight, but Raph and Leo have a big talk. The Foot Clan is out there causing trouble in the city. It's their mess. They beheaded the Shredder. Shredder's gone. So they're feeling responsible for what happened. Leonardo's like, it's not our problem anymore. They're not our friends. This is not something we should be worried about. And Raph is like, well, they want our heads. They're out hunting us.
Oh, it sounds like a reversal of what I'm usually used to.
Yeah, Raph's pissed because they want their hands on the Turtles for the death of the Shredder. And the only reason that they killed the Shredder was because Splinter told them to.
Eesh.
And this is now the battle between the Turtles. Do we go back and clean up the mess that is City at War? Do we go and try to get this all in order? Do we find out what's going on? And the Turtles go back to New York City and get into a fight, and sure enough, Leonardo's kidnapped by a new character who becomes quite iconic in most of the more recent Turtle stuff.
Cry.
That's right. Cry's first introduction was in City at War. She gets a hold of the Turtles and she makes a deal with them. Look, guys, we need this cleaned up. When you guys took out the Shredder, Japan lost control over the Foot Clan here. We want control back of our Foot Clan. But Shredder's elite guards, the ones who are out hunting you guys, they're not going to listen to the Japanese masters because they were trained to only listen to Shredder. So they hire the Turtles to take out the elite guards. Huge fight between the Turtles again about what's right, what's wrong.
So basically they're starting to become more the heroes now, almost.
Right, they got to decide if they're going to go out and do this assassination for the Foot Clan. They end up going through with this. Meanwhile, Casey Jones went off, found himself a new lover who was already pregnant, gets married to her, and then she has a child and dies at child's birth. And that's how he gets his daughter Shadow.
Oh my.
So this is a little bit more in depth of what they're going through in story arcs. It's not to where you're going through the comedy you see in the cartoons and movies and stuff. It's actually following some pretty serious storylines that some people have to deal with on day-to-day basics. And I always enjoyed this. But at the same time this series was hitting the market, and a lot of us knew the other series. Oh wait, before I get to that, a little bit about the different art styles. I mentioned that we have a bunch of variant artists. that came in throughout the Turtle series. So this is an image, and if anyone wants to see more of the artwork, I can show more of it later. This is showing from the first issue, the very first page of the Ninja Turtle comics, the different variety of artists that come in. One of the things that's picked on big time is like the new movie. Everyone's usually up in arms when you mention the design of the turtles. But in reality, Eastman and Laird has encouraged people to do their own twist and design of the turtles from the get-go. So we have one of the most bizarre design changes, which really, this image can't even do it justice. And this was the best I could really find at the short time I was doing this. But Michael Zulli made the turtles extremely big and more like normal turtles with actual beaks. Ooh. He did about 3 issues. Yeah. Here we go. This is a different style for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the original comic books. Much like the new movie, they don't look like the Ninja Turtles people know and love.
Or the recent games.
This is just showing that difference has always been a part of Ninja Turtles, and that is one of the best areas to show it. Volume 1 is one of the most iconic part of Ninja Turtle history. Without this book, we wouldn't have the cartoon, movies, nothing. From there, we go into the Archie comics. Anyone here read the Archie comics?
Once or twice.
Once or twice?
A few issues.
Did you see any of their own story arcs, or did you only see the stuff based on the cartoon?
Mostly.
Stuff based on the cartoon is what I saw.
Okay.
No, I didn't see stuff afterwards, though.
Issues right here, 1 through 3 of the micro series, and 1 through 4 of the ongoing series, is all you will find of this series based on the original cartoon series. Mirage sent in some of their own guys, Dean Claren, Ryan Brown, a handful of some of their greats, including Mark Bodie did color artwork for them, and had them go in and say, take over this comic and do something with it. So right away, we get a totally different story arcs starting up. They bring in Man Ray, Leatherhead. They bring the Turtles to another dimension where they're fighting as wrestling teams. Raph gets a costume where he's wearing complete black when he was wrestling, and decides to stay in that costume for several issues after, even though Leo was saying he should go back to how he was. During the story arc, they meet a lot of new friends. They have Mondo Gecko, Wingnut and Screw Loose, Jogwar, Dreadmon. And these other mutants that they're meeting end up forming a group all their own called the Mighty Mutimals.
Oh, yeah.
These characters were so strong, so well developed. Every single one of them had a reason for why they were mutated, why they were living in what part of the country they were living in, and just exactly who they were. Their personalities were individuals. They were not just like taking a mold and making a new mutant just to make a new mutant. They had a reason. And they got their own spin-off comics. This is their entire spin-off right here. Sadly, the Mighty Mutimals did not survive too long as its own spin-off. But the original comic, in my eyes at this time, was going a lot better than the Mirage comics. Because while these issues right here, especially these ones, were coming out, we were getting the variant writers and artists from Mirage Studios. We weren't getting an ongoing story like what we were being fed here with the Archie series. This story arc is one of my favorites, as they introduce a female fox named Ninjara. Ninjara is a warrior who was fighting against the Turtles, but realizes that her master was, well, trying to destroy the world, and she decided she'd rather live, and she joined teams. But I didn't trust her. She seemed so wicked, so mean, so vicious, but there was this connection between the fights between her and Raph. So when she joined their side, I don't trust that fox. That fox is bad news. That fox, she's something. So next thing we know, she becomes one of the main story arcs. And right away, there's this fight between Raph and her and some rebels that come out and seem to attack them. They're taking them down. Raph grabs one of the guys and says, "Why did you attack us?" And the guy who's already been hit goes, "We didn't attack you. You attacked us," and passes out. And he's like, he fainted. And Ninjara comes up behind him, puts her arm around his neck, leans in and goes, "His loss, your gain." So I don't trust her. I really her. But as the comics kept going, she became more and more part of the team. And I couldn't see the team without her.
Question, how much of this though was following the same symbol, like was it anything like the cartoon?
No,
Nope.
no, they left, they kept the original story arc that they had, but they went on a completely different adventure.
So
And-
like Raph became more like what we know of Raph and not the cartoon Raph?
Yeah, he had more of a temper. He definitely had more of a temper, but not as strong as a temper as the Mirage comics or even the movie.
And less cracking jokes, like...
Yeah, less cracking jokes, more temper.
Alright.
Definitely more temper. In fact, that's one of the story arcs coming up. One of the things that they tried to do to save the Mighty Mutable comics is they did this story arc here, where it actually combined, where you had to buy one of the Mighty Mutable comics to finish the story arc. And that was one of the things they did to try and save Mighty Mutable, and I wish it worked. But it didn't work, and that's when things got a bit more serious inside the book itself. With the comic itself, we started going through time. They go to the future, they meet the future selves. Raph has an eye patch, and they got a lot more going on with this. It's pretty big. Ninjara goes home, and Raph gets to meet her family and find out she was outcast from her own species, because she's not a mutant. She's actually a hidden, very rare species off in Japan. And they also go into space. They have several really deep story arcs. I mean, Donatello in this issue is caught by Area 51. You turn around and some of these topics, they're bringing up rainforests, they're bringing up environmental stuff, they're bringing up so many things, government conspiracies, and they're putting it out there inside a children's book. But none of this could compare us for what was going to happen next. All of a sudden, Mighty Mutable stopped publishing their comic books. This is when we're no more getting those other issues. So now, inside the back of these Archie comics, they're putting miniature Mighty Mutable comics. We're like, yay, we still get Mighty Mutables. Until we got to this issue. This issue right here really threw us for a loop. Now remember, this is a kid's comic. It is published by Archie. It is made for the younger audience and based on the original cartoon series. They went in with machine guns and blasted all of the Mighty Mutables down in their own base, their own living base. The next issue is this. Damn.
But it's the same company that did stuff to Sonic, and look how dark that gets.
Exactly. This is extremely dark. That's Candy. That was Mondo Gecko's girlfriend sitting next to the gravestone. This is future Donatello and Raphael standing in the background, watching, because they were the ones to find that they died.
Talk about kill one.
This is just, wow. It shocked me. I was maybe about 14 years old reading this book. And what I did was I've grown a very deep appreciation for it. They weren't kid handling us. They weren't trying to be friendly saying the world is perfect. They were actually showing us a reality that if you get into crime fighting, if you get into one of these serious jobs out there, your life is at risk. And when they brought us through this comic book series from issue 5 all the way to issue 55, you knew to love and grow. These characters were just amazing. And then they were gone. But they weren't completely gone because we still had Leatherhead in the original cartoon series. Mondo Gecko made an appearance in the original cartoon series. Wingnut and Screwloose made an appearance. Sadly, the only ones that didn't was a character named Jaguar, which was this leopard, and Dreadmon, who was more of a wolf. And these characters have not resurfaced. They have been gone. And we're begging Playmates Toys to make toys of them. There's still a huge fan base. If you search up Mighty Mutables, you'll find people who actually follow and still write their own fan fictions as if the characters survived. From here, we go on to some more serious story arcs. Now they're fighting the one who caused the death of the Mighty Mutables, and they get the help of someone who doesn't like the Ninja Turtles, but loved the Mighty Mutables, and that was Slash.
I remember Slash.
Slash puts his own life on the line to try and stop destruction because he wanted revenge for the death of his friends. Now, it gets even more serious. we go to the government catching Michelangelo.
Oh, man.
This became my favorite issue. It has April O'Neil sitting in a talk show actually talking publicly about the Ninja Turtles. And she had video to share from the government boat where Michelangelo was being held, as Mikey is being injected with truth serum to try and find out what he is. This is the Archie comic series. A lot different than most people would predict. And it really became my favorite story arc for a very long time of the Ninja Turtles because they were willing to push these boundaries with them. And at the end of this, they are now public, going out in front of people. They actually got to finally say, we're real to the human race, and not have the government after them because the government already just got shoved what was happening.
So they didn't need the trench coats anymore?
They didn't. And then things started getting weird. Really, really weird. They left the comfort zone of what we knew. In fact, there's a letter in the back of these 5 comics right here saying, look, we actually have to make this comic. This is not the storyline we were going with. We are ordered to make a toy commercial.
Oh, no.
So they had to do the Cyborg Turtles, which was also done inside the cartoon series. But I'm thinking, okay, we just got some more of the Future Turtles, and I love the Future Turtles. We still got a lot more to learn and see with these characters until this next area happens. Ninjara and Raph are fighting. For the same exact reason Ninjara loved Raph, which was his attitude. Now all of a sudden she can't stand his attitude. Now she's turning around and snapping at him as if he's not there for her. But everything I saw leading up to this point, he was there for her. So whatever happened here really threw me for a loop, and threw a lot of the readers for a loop, because this is the official breakup of Raph and Ninjara. They completely break up, she leaves the team, and she has a new tribe she's living with. Instead of foxes, she found some wolves to live with. And she later appeared in another comic book series with a daughter from that wolf tribe.
Oh, geez.
And then, next thing we know, we got these 2 issues, which was just the backstory of how the Turtles got their weapons. And then we found out why all the oddness happened at the end, because it was the end. They pulled the Mighty Minimals out, and Ninjara out, so that the creators can keep the rights to their own characters. So us readers who were following these characters strongly lost a lot because Archie was pulling the line on this story arc. They tried to do a different special, which was a 3-part mini-series. The art, the story, didn't hold me at all. And it was a sad time for Turtle fans, especially if you were actually reading it. And if you've not read it, even though I just gave away the entire story arcs, I highly recommend it so you can actually get to know the characters that I've been speaking about.
We'll get through the back, I'll get through it that much quicker now.
Yeah.
I don't have to play as hard with catch-up.
Exactly. Just know the first few issues, if you've seen the original cartoon series, you're good. This here is another short-lived series. So short-lived that I put everything on 1 page. 13 issues. Mirage, after they finished doing Mirage Volume 1 with City at War, decided to do, well, Volume 2. And Volume 2 just went through a lot of oddities. Baxter Stockman turned himself into a robot. Everyone thought he was dead. But he actually turned himself into a robot to go and kill the Turtles. They ended up in some strange war, which ends up being a dream in issue 13. So a lot of fans actually question how much of this volume was the dream and how much of it was reality. Later, we do find out Baxter Stockman really was a robot. So we know that not all of it.
They went with the Dallas approach?
Yeah. Well, they just decided the sales was not there. Eastman and Laird was not involved, so they just decided to can it. That comic was gone. And then came the most disputable comic book series that has been released. Who's read Image? Anyone? All the way through?
On the Image title? No, I didn't read the Image title.
No, the Ninja Turtle comics. Anyone here?
I've read Image for the G.I. Joe ones, but not for the Turtles.
Anyone know the reasons, the oddities that came out of the Image comics that scares a lot of people away?
sheer brutality from what I've seen.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. The Image Comics decided to take the characters that we knew and loved and throw them into an even more rougher environment than we've seen in both Archie and Mirage.
Huh?
They actually decided to, well, start off with a bang, is what I'm going to say. Right away, they explode Donatello at their 18th birthday party. They kidnap Splinter. Oh, and Donatello gets into a fight with a cyborg as he's injured from the explosion and falls out of a helicopter over New York City.
And I thought the new issue was brutal.
Yeah, which is why I've been laughing about this IDW stuff.
And yet he survived it.
It's comic books.
Didn't.
What?
Not really. They went into a totally different area. When Don crashed into the ground, he merged with the cyborg. The cyborg was also dying and decided that the only way that they would survive is if the cyborg and the turtle merged.
Oh, no.
So you get cyborg Donatello.
Oh, God.
While Splinter's group was testing mutagen and decided to turn him into a bat. And Casey Jones' daughter, Shadow, father appears. And he doesn't appear by just coming up and saying, I am the actual father of this little kid. No, he hires the Foot Clan to kidnap the child from Casey and April's
I
home.
remember hearing about that. Didn't Michelangelo live with
In the basement, yes. He had his own apartment down in April and Casey's basement. He was babysitting Shadow when she was kidnapped. And feels extremely guilty, and he is injured badly.
Boy, this is 97, the extreme.
This is extremely, this was some of the big stuff that happened. To share some of the artwork from this, here we have the turtles actually together, finding Donatello's body. Leo went on the astral plane and found where Don was crashed. By the time they got there, there was nothing but a skeleton left.
Yikes.
So they buried the skeleton. Here's Don's funeral. They actually buried the skeleton thinking that Don was gone. And then here's Don finding out he's a cyborg. And then we got Shadow finding out that she's being kidnapped. This is her going up to the front door to where she's taken. And then Raph, because Mike's hospitalized basically, goes off on the mission to find her, and Mike actually gets to go and do the rescue. And they also get to meet the Savage Dragon.
I remember Savage Dragon. I've seen the cartoon.
That kind of would work almost. They're kind of both weird, freaky, green.
Yeah, it worked. He's a police officer and everything, so they did bring him in, and then we get a little bit more Image. And one of my favorite things that this series did was they brought the Shredder back.
Wait, what did it? Raph became the Shredder or something?
That's right. Raphael became the Shredder, and he became the Shredder because he went to the Foot saying, "How dare you kidnap Shadow?" We have to talk about this because he's going to stop the Foot from trying to take Shadow from him.
So he takes the Foot to get him back.
While there, the Mafia, who was Shadow's father, attacks the Foot Clan. And when they attack the Foot Clan, Raph's at the base. He takes off into hiding and falls into Shredder's chamber of uniforms.
Oh boy.
And then he's walking around looking at the uniforms going, well, when we were little, Splinter used to have the Shredder as the boogeyman. Well, the boogeyman comes back, right? Well, wonder if the Mafia is superstitious.
Oh.
And he puts the Shredder costume on, takes down the Mafia, and then the Foot turns around and say, how dare you wear this armor? And he goes, how dare you cowards run and hide and let the Mafia beat you up? I earned this honor, and now you guys all follow me.
Oh no.
Raph takes over the New York Foot. I loved it. It became such an interesting storyline. And,
It fits.
It does fit. It definitely does fit. So, as we're going through the different comics here, we see we see Raph finding the armor here. I actually own the artwork panels for this, but it's on display at the Toonseum right now. Where what he actually finds, that's where he's deciding to put on the costume in that image. When he actually walks in, there's this whole roll of different Shredder's armor standing up on mannequins. that he's walking past looking at as he's talking.
Let me guess, one that looked like the cartoon version, I bet. They would do,
Somewhat.
nowadays they would do that. Nowadays they would do that.
They do throw in a lot more homages to the different areas of Ninja Turtles these days than they did back then.
I know, the thing. Nowadays you know they would have had like different shredder out.
Now, this book was written by a guy named Gary Carlson. It was penciled by Frank Fosco.
Oh.
And the beginning of the books was inked by a guy named Andrew Petpoy. I do not remember the inker who took over for Andrew when he left. But I know that Gary had a huge story arc still planned. And as he's going along, a lot of other really bad things happened to the Turtles. Leonardo had his hand bit off by a Komodo dragon.
Yay.
It was one thing after another. Now, while a lot of bad stuff was happening for the Turtles, some good stuff. Michelangelo became a writer and publisher. He was getting small poems originally published, but then he actually wrote a love novel and got that published. Michelangelo also had his first kiss. He got a girlfriend in the series. So they had other story arcs, so it wasn't completely dark, but it again was going ahead and showing that they're out there doing dangerous stuff, and bad stuff can happen if you're out there doing dangerous stuff. And one of my biggest problems with the original cartoon series when I was a kid even, is that we'd watch, and this wasn't just the Turtle series, I had a problem with almost every cartoon series. We'd watch these guys go into fights all the time and come out without any scars or memories of the fights that they went through. I was gang beaten. 15 to 30 kids would gang up on me in elementary school. They would throw me in front of cars on busy roads near my house. Anyone know Ferndale? Hilton Road. Over at what is now some high school, it is what used to be Wilson Elementary. That is where I went to school. And I was thrown in front of cars on Hilton Road, and there's people who speed down that road all the time. 30 miles an hour may be the speed limit, but that's not when people go. I was brought to the hospital several times. I needed stitches across my forehead one time from being pushed to the 9-pole. When the kids would gang up on me originally, I would drop and cower and let the kids just beat me up because I had no intention of hurting anyone back. Turtles inspired me to get into the martial arts and start standing up for myself. I've had 2 real fights since I got into the martial arts. Both fights I was able to walk away without hurting them and them not hurting me, and the fighting stopped. That was my goal. And that was one of the things that came from Ninja Turtles. But as a kid who got hurt, who was beaten, who saw the cruelty that can actually come from fights, you look at these heroes walking into these fights and walking out without anything, and you wonder, why can't I be that immortal? So when I actually see it in a comic, or a movie, or a show, where they actually show the damage caused an effect that lasted more than a couple episodes, it actually made me feel like they were treating me more real, like they were treating the audience more real. So I appreciate everything that Gary did here. Yes, he mangled the Turtles. He really did. But at the same time, he gave us an interesting story, character growth, and he showed that realistically, if you were inside a situation like this, you weren't going to come out of it scar-free. From here, this is the last issue of Image. The sales dropped because of what he did to the Turtles. Because so many people can't stand their favorite characters being injured. So many people see a character get beaten up and they go, how could they do that to Donatello? He's not a cyborg. Or there were so many things that just got people to keep dropping off from buying the comic because they take a personal connection to the characters. And in doing so, he had to rush the ending of the comic, and the series was never completely finished the way that he intended.
And how did they do that? Sounds like the Robin syndrome.
And they just got the foot story wrapped up. That was it. That was the end of it.
Oh, they still cyborg when they were in this?
Yes, Don was still cyborg, but when we get volume 4, Peter Laird decided, I'm treating the Image comic like it never happened.
Oh.
Now there is 2 fan comics out there that you can only find online if you find anybody who has a copy. I do have these. And the fan comics did bring in people like Gary Carlson to help with it, and Frank Fosco to do artwork on it.
To bridge it?
Yes, and it does. It fixed everything, but it's not canon.
Oh, man.
It was never officially released as a canon comic book. We went from October 1999 to 2002 without a comic book. Or 2001, I think, actually, October 2001. what ended up happening was Mirage decided to take all their licenses and pull it in-house. Everything, including their very first license that they ever released, which was Palladium RPG books, was now losing it. Playmates toys, everything. They pulled them all in-house and then started trying to figure out their sorts of what's going on. They also cut down on their staff. Ninja Turtles was not as big as it was. So for the fans, the year 2000 was the darkest year of Ninja Turtle history. We had nothing. The only thing that came out was iron-on t-shirts that you could get from a website on the internet.
Right.
All the toys were gone, all the comics were gone. There wasn't even reruns of the Turtles on TV. It was hard, especially for somebody like myself who was extremely passionate about it still. As I mentioned, Turtles got me to defend myself. Turtles taught me to read. I was dyslexic. I still am dyslexic, but when in 5th grade, I was a 1st grade reading level. Schools were telling me I was too old for reading help and took me out of the reading classes. I had no help outside of this. My mom was handing me the novels and the comic books saying, you want to read? Here's something that you're interested in, and actually taught me to read through the Turtles. And then the internet rolled around in 1995. I made friends, something I couldn't do at school. I have friends from 1995, 1996 to this day that I hang out with that I met through Ninja Turtles. The Turtles have helped me in ways that no other comic book or cartoon or movie has in my life. And I know everyone has that passion, has that drive about something. Something has been there for them. Be it Turtles, be it Superman, be it the Power Rangers. There's something out there that connects to somebody. It could be coin collecting, it could be stamp collecting, it could be sports. There's something out there that makes people feel good inside. And that's what Turtles was for me. Thank you. But with that, I held a booth at Motor City Comic Con, and I got petitions signed and let Mirage Studios know that the fans wanted Turtles. And when I was getting ready to hold that booth the following year, I got news from Peter Laird that his comic was coming out in October. He sent me the first flyers to release, and we had it at our booth at Motor City Comic Con. So I've actually been kind of in and out behind the scenes for a while to where they were actually in contact with me. Kevin Eastman sent a donation to help me run that booth in 2000. And we brought in a guest. We had autographs signed. In fact, when I'm doing my autographs tonight, we're trying to raise some money for Cowabunga Corner. I'm out of hard drive space.
Oh boy.
And so I will have an autograph photo that will have a stack on the table that people can buy from any donations of $25 and up. And it's a very rare autograph from one of the actors from The Next Mutation with his head taken off. This is actually a photo my mom took while I was on a set. My hand is in the corner of the photo. So, he signed them at Motor City Comic Con 2000. I did get the 5-minute warning symbol already, so I'll jump and say that Volume 4 was an interesting series, which also lasted too short because, once again, Peter was writing this, and then the Turtles picked up. 2003 series, 2007 movie. He got pulled away from the comic books again and it started slowing down. Every now and then he still releases an issue. One issue is online only, you can find through his blog. Now we have the IDW comics. Anyone here following the IDW comics? Love it. It is completely different. The Turtles are reincarnations of kids from the past, and their father is Splinter. And the Shredder is resurrection. He's the actual man who killed them back in the past. And Splinter wants revenge for the death of his family. Tang Shin, his sons were killed in front of him, and then him by the Shredder, and he wants to take the Shredder down. Meanwhile, there's a whole intergalactic war going on with the Krang attacking. So the Turtles are kind of thrown up going, do we fight this foot that wants our heads, or do we fight the Krang who's about to take over with his Technodrome? And in the most recent issue, they teamed up, the Turtles convinced the Foot to team up, but it was a trap. They also let Krang know that the Foot was coming because they weren't friends. And Shredder kind of left a little booby trap for the Turtles behind. And Don had to send the Foot through a portal, and Shredder's like, if we find out you betrayed us at all, these two are going to kill you. And he left Bebop and Rocksteady with Donatello. So when it was found out that this was a trap, that Krang knew the Foot was coming, he ordered Donatello's death. And Don was beaten severely by Bebop and Rocksteady, to the point where they cracked his shell wide open. And one of the lines that said is, ew, who knew that was what was inside of them? Before Bebop and Rocksteady got called away to leave. The end of that comic, Splinter's sitting there holding Donatello as everyone else is mourning what just happened because they were off at the battle. And Splinter says, my brave son. So now you're going to be going around online. You search up IDW and Donatello, you can actually see these pages. It's very easy to find. Everyone published it. Everyone advertises it as Donatello's death, but one area. IDW. Usually, if there's going to be a big death scene, like inside this series here, Splinter dies.
Who?
Yeah, Splinter's dead. They announce a death, but IDW hasn't. So here's the spoiler that I've seen. Yeah, there is a page of Don on life support. And from the looks of it, it is real. I'm going to stand behind it. It looks like the right artwork, and I don't think Tom would pull that on us.
Things go way too far ahead, though. I mean, that's like...
No, not really.
That's 55 iteration.
Yes, but they plan a year in advance with their comic books.
Oh.
Watch some of the interviews on Cowabunga Corner with Tom Waltz and Bobby, and you can find out a lot more about the IDW series. We also have interviews with Kevin Eastman about the IDW series. I have a lot on my website. Feel free to check it out. I'm also around all weekend long, so if you guys want to see more of this slideshow or what else I have to say about some of the other comic book series, just let me know, and I'll be happy to bring that too. I have an autograph session tonight at 9 o'clock. I'll be down there. I'll also be willing to do like full body Ninja Turtle sketches for $5 if anyone wants a Ninja Turtle art drawing. So we'll check you guys out down there. Thank you for coming to the panel.